Go. Hello, and welcome back to Women Behaving Badly, or the women welcome you. Welcome. Wait, what am I saying?
I don't know, because I couldn't understand what you said. Word you said.
Well-behaved women, not women behaving badly. We're just for full disclosure, we're recording earlier than we normally do, so we're both a little like.
Yeah, we don't have a way.
Anyway, and go. Well-behaved women welcome you back.
Welcome back.
So, Miss Oli, what have you been doing this week?
More of the same. Oh my gosh, I've got to tell you, between Friday, which I had off from work, I have Friday and Monday off.
Mm-hmm.
Today is Chris's birthday. And Friday, I think I took it off originally because we had plans to like leave town and do stuff pre-COVID. And I never took the day back. Excuse me. And I thought about it. I thought about just working, and I'm so glad that I didn't, because I needed that day to bake, as it turned out. So between Friday and Saturday, I baked 42 conchas, 30 scones, and 5 cakes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were these late orders that came in, or what?
No, I'm still filling just the orders that I got. I'm just taking it kind of weekend by weekend, and everyone's just been so great and flexible, and just happy to like support the cause. And it's just me doing it. Well, I mean, on Friday I had someone in my cohort came over and helped me with the conchas, which was really delightful, just having her company. And I got to teach her. It wasn't like the most efficient process, because it was more like me, overseeing and teaching, but like it was enjoyable too. I like teaching, I guess. I like doing that kind of thing. So
yeah.
The company.
Well, that's fun. That's a lot of fun. I finished up summer school, so that was good. My last 2 teaching videos were just like almost what?
You finished summer school?
Yeah, I was teaching summer school.
Oh, I'm thinking like the class you just started. Like you just started.
No. I finished teaching my students summer school.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And like I had short timers on those last 2 days. I was just like ready to be done, but got it done, and it was good. It was actually a good thing. It was very loose. It wasn't like you enrolled so you have to be there kind of a thing. It was like if you come, you come. If you don't, you don't. And it's all still online. So people that might want to, go back and look at it later or whatever, or hey, I know that they had the summer school, but I didn't get to go. Can I look at it now? They can. So like I have all the videos from every day that we did it and everything. So it was good. But finished that and started my class. So that's going well. I am. Yeah.
I just noticed you're wearing purple. It's very royal, like a royal purple. So it's like you're practically a queen. You are a queen.
I am a queen.
I mean, I guess you're practically like the Queen of England
Ah,
kind of a thing.
okay. I think that the short haircut contributes to that.
Like, yeah, Queen of England meets what's her Miranda Priestley. I think you have a Miranda Priestley haircut.
Miranda Priestley.
Yeah, from The Devil Wears Prada.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
If my hair didn't grow so fast, I would probably dye it gray. But it grows way too fast.
And not gray. Not
and
entirely gray.
No, I mean I've got lots more salt and pepper than I used to, and that's really evident. I mean, check this out. The stripe. I've got the stripe.
The stripe is pretty cool.
I'm done with it. I ordered myself some what is it? Madison Reed. It's on its way.
All right. Best of luck.
Well, a couple of things on my mind right now. And I didn't mention it pre-go, but I just read a thing on Twitter. You know who Sean King is, right?
Mhm.
Apparently, there's this secret society on Facebook of ex-cops. And they've made it very clear that they're going to go after him. It's like a national thing.
Well, do you want to just talk about who he is real quick? Or
Sure. Sean King is like OGSJW. He has become very vocal in the last couple of years, but I mean he's always been out there about racial equality. He is clearly a mixed race. There's a lot of people that think that he's what's the word that I'm looking for? False. He's just posing because he looks, and in many ways, if you didn't know better, he would look white. But so they don't take him seriously a lot of the time. But he has in the last couple of years really stepped up with all of the police brutality cases that have come across, really stepped up a lot and become much more vocal, much more in the spotlight on social media, fighting against these issues, fighting against police brutality and fighting against inequalities in our system. And I guess that comes with a price. Because I mean, just the things that they're saying are just brutal. That they're ready to go get him. They're ready to take him out, which just makes me sick.
I can't believe how horrible people are. You know, how comfortable they are threatening someone's life.
Yeah,
I don't understand why that's just become so normalized now.
I don't know. I mean, and this man has a family. He's only trying to do good. And if you're in the way of that, then probably you're not doing good. you know, it's upsetting. That first of all, it's upsetting that people are going after him. But the thing that is the most upsetting is who do these people think that they are? These are ex-police officers, and there's a secret society of them that's like a secret Facebook group that that they think let's pull the trigger on this. And I mean, it could be him now, but it could be any of us. If we speak out and they don't like us or whatever. I don't understand.
Yeah,
But
it's all dangerous. It's all just very, I don't know, like a very, very specific kind of white person, which there's just a lot of that specific kind of white person. Like they scare me. They really
yeah.
scare me
Oh yeah.
because they have the power. They have all this power over us,
Well, and
over
that's
the community, over other marginalized groups, and like, and they can just get a gun just by blinking,
right. Right. But
and
it
that's
makes me wonder. And I was thinking like that Amy, what's her name? Amy Cooper.
yeah.
If she had an in with this group, let's just say, and didn't call the cops, but called somebody on this group, that guy wouldn't have made it.
Well, I think she knew that though. I think even if she didn't have an in, I mean, she kind of has an in just by being who she is.
By who being who she is, yeah.
But, and she knows, like, she knows what happens to Black people when they're
Hmm.
faced with a gun pointing at them, and the person on the other end of that is a police officer. It's like she knew
Oh yeah,
that.
because I mean, she said, "I'm going to accuse you of rape."
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
She was definitely taking his life in her hands and threatening his life. That's what she was doing.
yes, yeah. Which I mean, why?
Rape, though, I don't remember her accusing rape. I think she said attacking.
I don't know. Maybe that's just Maybe that's just where my head goes when a white woman wants to accuse a man of assault. I don't know.
But that's also dangerous, right? That's also dangerous
The my assumption.
as a woman.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I am trying to remember what it was that I saw her say, heard her say. But my my thought is that regardless of what it was that she was going to accuse him of, assault or, injuring her or whatever, that's almost always where a woman goes, isn't it? I mean, the white woman goes. I mean, that's what Emmett Till, that's what everybody assumed that he was doing. That he was in some way, that the assault that she was accusing him of was sexual, right?
I think so. I you know what? And I need to read kind of more about, I guess, what happened after the phone call. I've seen the video,
Uh,
but I mean, I don't remember. I don't know what was said on the other, like, 'cause she made the phone call. I don't remember what was said on the other line. I don't think he was even there when the police arrived.
right.
But yeah, it's really tricky. It's because yeah, I would say that she's part of like another issue, like another problem, an intersecting problem, where women aren't believed when they are being attacked, and they have, or being abused, or whatever it
Yeah.
is, not believed.
Yes. That's true. Yeah. Good golly. That's a big can of worms, isn't it?
It's Yeah, which is why people like her just suck so hard.
Yeah.
It really, really sucks. And the kicker is that she's an identified liberal. I was talking about this with Edward, and Edward's a long, long time friend of mine. We were talking about, she came up in conversation. We were having a long conversation about just things, and she was one of the things that came up. And it's interesting that she was, an identified liberal, um, and someone that, I don't know. I guess when I picture her, I kind of picture a lot of, like, I guess, a stereotype that I started to build in my mind as that like quintessential, like, white person that like drives the Prius, has all the bumper stickers, shops at the specific stores like Whole Foods and Sprouts and whatever, but are kind of start to become just as, I guess, toxic as their equivalent on the other side, if that makes sense. And um, just I like, it's great that you eat quinoa, but and that you
Yeah.
have that you've probably donated to the organization, but um, when it came down to it, when you were faced um, with, I don't know what emotion you were feeling, but like, there are serious things that you clearly didn't realize that you had, right? Like, it doesn't make you and I guess an anti-racist, or like
Right.
it
Right.
doesn't make you someone that's helping with anything at the end of the day. If when you were finally faced with a situation where it was you and a black man, you chose your privilege, you chose yourself, you chose your white.
And there was such an air of, how dare he talk to me like that?
Yeah.
How dare this black man talk to me like that?
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. So I mean, the privilege definitely came out.
And it was so ugly.
Oh yeah,
It was so ugly.
yeah. I was watching. There was a thing that somebody had posted on Facebook yesterday about this episode. I don't know. I had forgotten that the Golden Girls did a spin-off called The Golden Palace.
Oh, I know. I think so. Chris talked to me. He showed that to me today, and I don't know where he I don't know if you posted it and he saw it or whatever, but it was Don Cheadle.
Don Cheadle,
Yeah.
yes.
And
And
I thought I had issues, but go ahead.
the what?
No, you go ahead.
What about Don Cheadle? Don't talk about my Don Cheadle.
No, not Don Cheadle, but like
Oh,
just
okay.
the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, so they had this hotel that they were running. It was B. Arthur was not part of the deal, which I think that she was wise not to be part of that whole deal. But they were welcoming the daughters of the true American South or something crazy like that. And one of the things that that Blanche's character wanted to do was to hang a big Confederate flag on the front desk. Um, and and they really, I mean, they addressed it very, very well. But of course, they didn't have, their recent history to bringing to bear the reasons for not wanting the flag. His reasons were, when I walk down the street, white people cross the street. When I get into an elevator, white people get scared and guard their pockets and guard their purses. Um, and which, were very real things in the 80s. But they didn't have, and the 90s, but they didn't have, of course, our recent history to be talking about what, uh, now when I see the flag, I think of, this man who died and this man who died and this woman who died and, all these things. I think of Sandra Bland. I think of Breonna Taylor. I think of Michael and what's his name? Michael that was in Missouri. Uh, I'm just really bad at names. I'm sorry. um, but I mean, and Trayvon Martin and all these other things. I mean, there's just such. I don't even know what to call this moment in history where all these things have just compiled one upon the other. But they didn't have that then. So I mean, it was.
Didn't have.
When Don Cheadle was trying to make the argument for why he didn't want to have the Confederate flag hanging, he didn't have our history that we have now to point to and say, this is what this means to me.
But he did. He did. They just didn't let that conversation get that raw. Because police officers didn't just start killing people like this year or last year, even the last 5 years. Like, that was my issue with it. It was very watered down for the times, but still, I guess, maybe progressive for the times. But like, looking back on it, like, he still had to take the time to validate and comfort her white feelings at the end of the conversation.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I mean, and see, what I'm used, I guess, this was like a period of time that was in between what we're going through now and like All in the Family, when, All in the Family had like very recent history of MLK and Malcolm X and all that, and JFK. That was very, still very, hot fires that they hadn't quite put out yet. And so that's what they were talking about. And, I guess I didn't see that. I didn't actually look at that it was a watered down version where they could have pulled from a lot of history and they didn't. They chose not to.
I mean, right. It was a very, it was like this perfect little great package where, of a conversation that had a very lovely bow at the very end of it, and they both hugged, and that was, like, their solution. But like, that's the thing, like, the conversation doesn't end. It shouldn't end. It can't end, right? Like, I've never started a conversation about race and felt like, this conversation is now perfectly punctuated and we can kind of like end it, right? Like, it's, I don't know, I guess it's, but that was also the 80s. Yeah. I don't know, I think a lot of issues were kind of wrapped up in that way, in a very cheesy, unreal kind of way. And yeah, I mean, every year that Confederate flag means, I mean, there's more blood added to it, right?
Right.
But yeah, I don't remember, because I'm trying to remember if he mentioned his ancestors, if he mentioned what that meant to him as a Black man today, like any Black man today, whether it's the 80s, 90s, or like literally today, because all their ancestors, or most, right, their ancestors
Well, he did
tied
make
to that.
reference. He made reference when he did, you know, kind of like the you know, I'll get back to work, man. So let me, you know, that type of thing where he did the, yeah.
But I mean, yeah, it was
What I was hoping for, what I was hoping for was for one of those women to treat him poorly and have her defend him and have her kick them all out. That's what I was hoping for. Because I mean, I feel like treating him poorly would have happened, and he wouldn't have been defended in any. I mean, this was Florida, and I feel like if that had happened, if that had been a real convention in a real hotel, and he was really, you know, a person of, you know, of authority in that hotel, I feel like they would have treated him badly, and he would have just sucked it up. You know?
yeah. I think though that it could have been any kind of treatment, and it would have been slightly different than treatment that we would have seen Blanche get. So like, it's not even like she would have had to outright call him, you know, a pejorative term, or been like, I can't stay here if he works here, kind of a thing. Like, I don't even think it has to be that bad. I think it's like, I think it would have been probably powerful to like show that a microaggression that like people never want to cop to, never want to, um, you know, admit to.
Right.
Walked across the street because I'm more comfortable across the street, not because you're Black, you're white, you could be blue, black, purple, I don't care, you know, those things like
I
that,
don't see color.
you know.
Yeah.
And if, you know, maybe in that kind of way, Blanche could, you know, show her privilege as an example to their audience. This is how we can show our privilege, kind of a thing. But also like, that's also every Black man's story, right? Like they're constantly sucking it up. They're constantly, like, every day, like and I think he speaks to that a little bit, but also he still has this air of like, you know, hunky-doriness at the end. It's not quite as characterized as he portrayed at the beginning of the scene, but it still felt like, you know, that 1 minute conversation just kind of cleared it all up.
Right.
That's what I got, but maybe I'm over.
Well, I mean, for the time, I think it was a good conversation for the time. Because, like you said, I mean, this is, you know, cheesy 80s, and that was a lot more serious than a lot of. I mean, Golden Girls got a lot more serious about a lot of things than most shows got.
I think it's great. No, I was actually impressed that they identified the flag as an issue, as, you know,
Yeah.
as far back as 3 decades ago. You know, it's not.
Right.
I think some people think that this is such a new argument. This is such a new thing, and it's not.
Right.
It looks different. It feels different because, you know, we have the internet now. We have social media that's really putting it in your face and really trying to
Right.
make you feel uncomfortable. But I found this. I was going through some memories, and I just remember saving everything that I could to remember the day that Obama was elected president. And
Yes.
because that's the first, I turned 18 just months before I was able to vote, and he was the first person I was able to vote for, and the second person I was able to vote for. And this really struck me when I uncovered it. And the headline is "Racial Barrier Falls in Heavy Turnout." And it's so interesting that that marks like the beginning of this really silly falsehood that
Yeah, that we're post-racial.
yes, yeah, yeah, that we really tore down those walls for good.
I mean, that was my hope. I mean, I remember crying and, and telling people how proud I was that I can now tell my daughter that she could do anything because, I didn't feel like I could tell her that before, you know, telling Eleanor um, that, as a Black person in America, she could do anything. And, I look back at that feeling now and think, man, but do I want her to do anything? You know? Do I want her to step up and be that person? Because I mean, and that one show on ABC addressed this when on his inauguration, when he got out of the car, when he and Michelle Obama got out of that car to wave at people. I mean, I was terrified. I was terrified. I didn't think he was going to make it through his first year, honestly.
I wasn't that scared, but definitely there was definitely just that thought in the back of my head that it could be anyone, it could be, because it's happened before. I think that alone is possible because it's happened before. And now
Right.
he's like such a target of all this hate. I never thought that we were in a post-racial anything. I don't think that I don't think I ever entertained that thought because I mean, just during his campaign alone, and people were just so angry,
Yes.
that he was running, that he was gaining traction, that he was, pulling ahead. And man, that hate came out in the most ugliest and racist ways I'd ever seen in modern day, outside
Yeah.
of the occasional textbook picture of those horrendous white women yelling at Ruby Bridges to go to school because this
Right.
is clearly about to take the White House. And
Right.
come on, that's not going to go away because he's elected president on one night,
Right. Right. Right.
does not go away. I just, and I, yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible. And that is, for me, that is where I get very embarrassed by, the people that I share a country with. And that tends to come out in like, I'm ashamed of this country. So,
Yeah.
because they are the representation. There's a lot of people that really think that like they represent all of us. I mean, we have our friend Richard in England, and he tends to call us all kinds of things because of the people he sees on the news that represent us.
Right.
And then, God forbid you tell any one of them that you're kind of embarrassed by your country, and oh God, and then they get even uglier
Yeah.
because they're such just crazy nationalists. And I remember having this conversation once. I was trying to describe this feeling um, to one of Chris's old former roommates and friend. Um, and I remember very intentionally saying the word nationalism, and he kept, you mean patriotism?
No.
Kept repeatedly trying to correct me. I wanted to punch the white off his skin.
No. Yeah. No. Was that was that because he was male or because he was white?
I probably both. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, both. Because there is very like a strong patriarchal air to him.
Yeah.
And he's as white as they come.
Right.
And it's like the worst kind though. Like when I say like white as they come, I know that I have plenty of white friends that recognize their privilege, that know the struggle, that they are the allies. I'm not talking about them. It's the people that don't want to see how white they are. Don't want to see that they're so white that they're blinding everything around them, including themselves.
Right. Right. It's people want to just hold on to it. They want to hold on to who they are and don't want anybody else to get in the way of that. They see themselves they see their privilege as just as something that should benefit themselves and themselves only. You know, if they see that they have privilege at all. But I mean, it's just, back to the Golden Girls thing. That was, she didn't want to let go of the Confederate flag because she didn't want to actually have to see her friends and family as something other than the swell, wonderful time that she had as a child. But then when she recognized everything that that entailed, because along with all that swell, wonderful time, there was a whole bunch of treating people not well. And and it was very, very neatly tied up in a bow, where she was like, oh, well, yes, you're right, that's what that means. Oops, I'm sorry.
He had to say, like, I need to not assume about you white people. I need to not. And I just think, like, no, like, be angry.
Yeah.
It's fine to have them. You deserve to be angry, and so, like, not trust them for a while.
Right.
I don't feel like I trust, and
yeah,
I recognize that I carry a lot of anger. And I, ironically, not ironically, but it's my mentor, Henry, who is a Black man that kind of knows how to calm me down and, get me to remember that you don't need to fight the white man by hating the white man, kind of a thing. And it's, it's a process. Everyone's in their process, and so on and so forth. And of course, he's a lot more wise when he says it, but it's, and I guess, now that I'm thinking about it, I only saw like the 2 minutes. She very well could have marched out of that room and ripped that flag off and, just, use her privilege in whatever way that she felt necessary. But without seeing what happens next, it felt very incomplete and superficial.
Yeah. Yes. And I think, held up to the light of today, I think that's probably true. Not probably, it is definitely true. But people feel that very strongly. I mean, I've got somebody in my neighborhood here in my apartment complex that has, on the back of his truck, the American flag and the Confederate flag. We just have to tolerate it.
My mind goes in so many places when I like try to imagine this person. It's like probably the dude that has the doesn't smile in the profile picture and always takes the camera way too close, and just like the hat that probably has U.S. Army or Marine Corps or something on it, and
big beard.
Yeah. How self-important are they, and just self-righteous are they? Like, no, if you don't like this country, you can leave. I love this country. I'll bleed red, white, and blue. Trump 20. Just so high and mighty, so definitive, just like heroes, man, just legit heroes. And I'm just, God, it's so pathetic. It
is. It
and
is.
I don't know how pathetic they sound and look. It's not even 11 o'clock and I'm getting worked up over here.
Sorry. No, I understand. And it's, these conversations are never easy to have, I don't think. It was funny when I was going to get my haircut, we were looking at, Eleanor was, looking at pictures with me. And she's like, don't get that haircut. She was like, pointing at a haircut. And I'm like, why? She goes, that's Karen. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're right, that's Karen. But I was ever going through like, I like this one, but Karen, 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 Karen. And so yeah, I definitely had to keep that into account when I was like, I don't really want the perfectly coiffed hair. I want to, I don't know, I want to not look Karenish. it's I think it's quite a world out there. And half the time I have so many words that I have to say that my mouth can't really get myself around all of them. I can't say the right words because there's just too many of them to get them right as they're coming out of my mouth. I mean, half the time it's just easy to just go, motherfucker. I
Yeah,
just,
yeah, it's right. It's kind of like the zero to fuck you
yeah,
feeling.
yeah,
Um, Again, like, a lot of the stuff that we're talking about right now, I was talking about yesterday with Edward, and it's like all sense of reason and like all the sources that I could easily cite and sound so much more intelligent just like disintegrate
yeah.
by this blind rage, and I'm like, okay, fuck yourself. That's all.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all I can like grab. It's the lowest hanging fruit.
But that's all that, I mean, that's all, I mean, I want to sound wonderful and reasonable. And I have all these things that I think, I mean, could change a person's mind if I could actually even get them out of my mouth. But
Yeah,
I can't even get past, how can you even think the way you're thinking right now?
it's incomprehensible for me.
Yeah, yeah,
It's really crazy that someone exists like that. And I get that they exist like that because their parents existed like that, or whatever it was, but god.
yeah. Yeah, I don't, it's hard. It's hard to combat any of that. And I feel like I can't not combat it, but is it worth it? Is it worth it to my own sanity at this point?
No, I mean, yeah, probably not. It's probably not, because I think a lot of that is kind of feeling like, feeling this responsibility on your shoulders to correct the thing, to do your part, and you feel like your part is probably, to, erase the ugliness, but it's not your responsibility. It's not. And I think we do what we can when we can do it. And I know that like when I really feel reactive to something or to someone, it's better for me to walk away and do something that like works for me, or maybe just like, go start a banking fundraiser. Like, you like my cakes, that's great, but the money you're going to give me is going to go to Black Lives Matter. It's
Yeah,
but and there are times when I am in a better headspace to have the conversation, to ask the right questions, so that I can really get to the root of what they're feeling and what they really think.
yeah.
um, and sometimes it works, and other times it's like I, I gotta back out, and I
See,
don't.
but those conversations can really only happen one on one, and I feel like I don't have enough time for that. My child, your sister, in 3 years is going to be an adult, and she thinks she's going to go out in the world and everything's going to be great and hunky dory because everything has always been great and hunky dory for her. She is not in touch with the fact that she is not white.
Well,
And
she
I go ahead.
that I think she needs to decide that. I mean, she probably does identify as white and her mother is white. I mean, she could say that she is, but it's like she needs to be ready for how others are going to identify her. That's the problem. And I mean, she's going to have no control over it. I don't have control over it,
Right.
you know, and yeah, it's, and even within the Black community, I've seen a lot of conversations about, colorism, And I think these conversations exist in a lot of communities of color.
Uh-huh.
And is the conversation going to be in a place where she is going to feel accepted for only being half Black? Like, is she going to be Black enough to find that's my biggest. I don't want her to experience like that rejection. I think the rejection is inevitable at one point or another. And I think it might have even happened to her. She just hasn't realized it. She's just internalized it. A lot of the rejection I've experienced, I kind of realized after a lot of deep reflection about what it's meant for me to be multiracial in this country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yes, she's going to be, what is it? A little fish in a huge pond when she goes out. And I've said this so many times. I don't know what it's going to be like for her. I'm excited for her, but I'm just also so scared and nervous.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very.
She doesn't really call me now. She doesn't really text me. She doesn't really reply to me. I don't think it's intentional. I just think that's kind of who we are as people in our family. But
yeah.
Is she gonna still not call me when she needs someone? You know, when she needs to have these conversations, when she wants to explore things, when she starts forming her own thoughts and ideas and her own beliefs, because I don't think she has them right now. I don't think, being under your wing, I think she very much kind of feeds off what you put out, what you say. And I'm not saying that like she's not capable of her own free thought, but I think like it's definitely like there has to be distance for her to become her own person.
Right.
And some of those processes, some of the journeys that are taken to really find your own beliefs and your own stances. I mean, they're hard. They're very hard.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. And she has, and it's not just me. I mean, it is, how do I explain this? I mean, the world that she's in, I mean, she's under my wing, but she also goes, to Clovis High School, which is, for all the fact that it is the most diverse in Clovis, period, that's not saying a whole lot. And, her only other real social group has been the Mormon church or ballet.
And there's not a lot of Black ballerinas. There's not a lot of Black people in church. I don't remember a whole lot of Black people at Clovis High.
Right.
Yeah. I remember, being very underrepresented. And just, when Edward came to Clovis, and Edward is a Black, at the time, Black teenager, and we went out, of course I didn't realize what he might be feeling, in a town that is predominantly white, that's very noticeably white, flaunt its history with the KKK.
Yeah.
I never considered how he felt walking down the street with me. But I knew that I did not want him to meet Ryan and friends. I did not want that. I did not trust the situation. I did not trust them at all. Just because of to them, their idea of a good time and a really funny conversation is pretty much laced with a lot of, jokes based on stereotypes and racial slurs and things like that. And of course, you can't tell them otherwise, especially as a woman, because girls aren't funny. That's their big argument. Did you ever hear him try to justify that?
No.
Yeah, but like all the time, he would tell me that girls aren't funny. They're not. Women comedians aren't funny. They only know how to talk about periods. They only know how to talk about, just he was disgusting. And that's why I don't know why I'm still friends with him on Facebook. But like I can't, it would be hard for me to believe that like in the last time that I saw him to like the man he is today, like he went through that much growth. I don't have a whole lot of faith that he's like a changed person, but yeah, I did not want, I didn't introduce them. I didn't, I would not allow it.
Wow. I mean, I know that you did it, but I didn't know that that was why.
Yeah. We ended up running into them. We went to a movie and they were leaving a movie and I was walking into it with him and I introduced them then, but like it was very quick and, you know, in passing and I think like, and I think ultimately I told him my end that I just didn't want interaction to happen and he got so offended. But I mean, when didn't he get offended?
He was a very sensitive young man. Very fragile, yes. Well, my dearling, we did not even get to talk about the Disneyland ride.
That was going to be the topic of today's
It
show.
was, it was. And then I had forgotten that I had just read this thing about John King.
Well, you know what happened was we talked about what we were going to talk about and then we started and you were like, I've got things on my mind that I didn't the show today.
Right. Oh man. Yeah, we need to just like as soon as we turn on, just start the recording and go.
Because we start talking and it's like good and I'm like hit record, but then you know
I'm always afraid of hitting record and being like
maybe it's just like kind of like with The Office, you know, where Michael will answer the phone but it's Pam and it's like 30 seconds of like just not good, inappropriate.
Yeah.
All through and it's really, so maybe we'll just give ourselves like a 3-minute buffer.
Okay, we'll try it next time. Because that was a good conversation, the Disneyland conversation. We'll get there next week. Maybe.
Yeah,
depending on what happens this week.
It'll still offend people next week, I'm sure.
There you go. Yes, it will. And that's the goal. All right. Well, I love you, my dear. It's always nice talking to you. And I'm going to fix this mop. And then we will be back next week. Thank you for stopping by if you indeed did so. And we're averaging like 6 views a week. So I think we're doing good.
Oh, thank you, 6 people.
Right?
Friends.
All right. So hit like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week. Bye now.